Hello, everyone. This is Maya, and I am here with Unity, and I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. But I wanted to show you the Areiopax again. For those of you who don't know anything about this, I'm not going to go into great detail, so you're going to have to click on the link that will appear below in your YouTube box, and it will take you to where you can understand it a little bit better. For everyone else, I know you're familiar with this, and so I'm not going to stay on it, but this is the basic Areiopax dynamic that was given to me in the first time in the 1980s. And according to my interplane sources, it is the key portal entrance for any portal activations. You can have other designs and you can have other snapshots. This is a snapshot of it, but the basics of it is the same, remains the same for all of it. So now I'm going to stop my screen share here, and we're going to go back over here to Unity. Unity, you're a bit in the dark. You want to turn on a light so we can see you a little bit?
Your eyes are I look bright. I look bright to me. You can't
there
see
you are.
me?
Now that's good. That's good. Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll sit closer.
I'm going to ask you, Unity, if you'll share with us just a little bit about you and your travels and, where you are now and whatever you want to share there.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's great to be with you, Maya, and to see you again. So thank you for making the time for this. My name is Unity Grace. I have been walking the songlines of the planet for 6 years, guided by spirit, and have been on quite an incredible journey that's very closely linked and supported by Maya's work. We have a very close connection, and so Maya's work with those has been really a huge part of what's been referencing and guiding my work around the planet and the messages that have been coming through to me to tell me where to go and what to do. And so I've been carrying bundles for the Indigenous for the past several years to some of the most sacred sites on the planet. It's been quite a journey of miracles and a journey of complete surrender of the rational mind to go to the places we're guided. So this recent part of the journey has taken me to I was on the island of Kauai for a few months. I was in 2013, the guidance downloaded to me the largest thing that my consciousness had ever received, the most massive multidimensional download ever. And the guidance said that it was the living library and that it was my work on the planet. And it was to bring through the cosmic Akash. And so in that work, it came through to me on a very special heiau on the island of Kauai. And I spent 2 months back on that heiau, basically living on top of it in a little cabin in the months of June and July. I was guided to come back to the island of Kauai for the 4th of June moon. And on very short notice, basically the 1st of June, the guidance woke me up in the morning and said, get back to Kauai. The B'nai or Ein Sof pillar of light is about to come through. And so the area where Maya lives, where the White Queen crystal skull, according to Thoth, is located in the inner earth grids, is where that pillar of light came in. My friend actually photographed it when it was coming in. I was doing ceremony, and at the time the guidance said the 72 councils of light were downloading to my crown. So spent 2 months on the island of Kauai through June and July, on the heiau with the book The Pistis Sophia, really understanding this next piece of what's coming through the grids, the restoration of the Sophia, the 13th aeon of the divine feminine through and contributing to this transformation of humanity, of our DNA, of the divine human template, bringing forth the Areiopax, etc. I am guided to mention that I did go to Peru carrying the White Queen crystal skull in December of 2014, January 2015, and then carried the Isis skull from the Osiris Rising collection of Maias in March of 2015. And so after Kauai, I was brought here to the island of Ibiza in Spain, and was invited to bring through a transmission of light language on the lunar eclipse in August at a big music festival, and then returned to the island of Spain, of Ibiza, which is the third most magnetic pole on the planet next to the North and South Pole. There's a little island off of Ibiza, it's called Esfera. And so some dear friends here who have been doing a lot of work with the grids for years, Kasia and Christoph and their families, have been working the grids here. And so we came together to basically combine our work, and Maya sent me off with the pieces from Thoth about the installation of the Areiopax. And so that's where I began to do the work with Thoth to bring through the installation of the Areiopax into the Earth's grids, and beginning with this third most magnetic pole. Basically, Ibiza is a giant crystal, kind of like Kauai sits over a giant crystal. And so we have massive computers that we're on top of to do this work with. And so I'll pass it back to you, Maya.
Okay. Well, you shared with me some pictures, and I'm going to do a screen share on those. And let's see if I can bring them up. They're on my email. So I'm going to just bring them up one at a time, and maybe you could comment on them. Can you see them there?
Okay. Just clicked on it. The screen is blank for me right now. Are you seeing them on your side?
Yes, I'm doing a screen share. It says your screen sharing is paused. Why would it be paused? Okay, let me try to unpause it here. I don't know why it's paused. Okay, well, let's try this again. I'm going to try it one more time.
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened. I might have hit two buttons at once. Let's try it again. Share screen. Okay, now you should be able to see. Can you see? Oh, you know what it is? I'm sharing the screen of the pictures, and that is, I need to do a new share, and then I have to bring up, sorry everyone for this technical stuff. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to, get back over to you there. Oops, I have to stop the share. Yeah, I'm getting really confused. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording while we sort this out, so all of you won't have to figure this out. Okay, I think we sort of sorted out everyone. So we're on a picture, and everyone should be able to see this, and Unity can see this. So now, dear Unity, please tell us about it.
All right. Okay, great. So what this is that the work Christoph and Kasia have been doing here on the island of Ibiza is to restore the grids here. Because it's the third most magnetic pole, Ibiza is used for many purposes. And one of those purposes is the harvesting of souls' energies, because Ibiza is the biggest party house on the planet. It's got the largest nightclubs. And so the population soars to about 2 million in the summertime, and the nightclubs are massive, and they're totally designed to basically corral people in and really harvest that human energy. So they've been working to clear that out of the grids and open up the heart of the earth. And so the crystals that we see around the outside of this, they're in the process of placing 12 pillars for the tree of life on the island. And before we left for the grids in France, which was a download that came in for me on September the 3rd, which was actually my solar return, and the guidance said, get to France now. So before we left for France, we did a ceremony on the island with the remaining crystals that they still have to place in the grids here for the 12 pillars of the tree of life. And you can see there's 3 crystal skulls in the center. And so two of those crystal skulls are part of Maya's current Osiris Rising project, and I'm carrying them with me. And then the crystal skull in the center is sitting on top of a Madagascar crystal. And the little skull in the center is one that's directly related to the White Queen crystal skull that Maya is holding in Kauai. And so what Thoth guided to do, it looks very much like the Areiopax, was to place the skulls in that way. There's a special little grandmother doll there from the elder grandmothers in Peru, my medicine pouch. And so what we did was we did ceremony the day before we left for France. And we left for France the day before we left, or the day before the lunar eclipse. And so we came together, Thoth came through, we activated the Areiopax through this island, and that's what this image is a representation of. On my journey, I always document all of my ceremonies, even if the photograph doesn't seem like there's a lot going on, because I understand the photograph is capturing the energetics of the moment. And this was the moment of first grounding the Areiopax in through the grids of the earth through this magnetic pole.
All right. So the next picture you wanted me to show was the group in the airplane?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have these in the proper order, so I'm just going to skip through. There we are.
Okay. So what's amazing about this picture is we were sitting on the runway for takeoff, and the guidance came through to me and said, do selfies. And so I do a lot of selfies in my journey. And you can see how remarkable the lighting is in this selfie. And we have several pictures, and I always ask the guidance to send me clear and cosmic signals to show me that I'm truly making a difference. If you just send me clear and cosmic signals. So a lot of the time they come through the photographs, and I have a whole array of amazing photographs with amazing light anomalies. The incredible thing about this was that we had just done ceremony on 9/11 here in Ibiza, and the guidance said Akasha and I were bringing through the codes of transfiguration. If you look at our human design and our gene key template, we both carry the codes of transfiguration, which is the 47th gene key. And transfiguration is the process of the physical vessel actually turning into light. So this is a huge part of what this whole Areiopax system is doing within us. And the really incredible thing about this photograph is that if you look above my head, you can see the image of a face. And as soon as I took the picture, I looked at it and I went, oh my gosh, it looks just like the face in the Shroud of Turin. And so you can see it. Do you see that above my head there, Maya? The nose,
I
the eyes.
absolutely do. But interestingly to me, the head does not look like the Shroud of Turin. It looks like the Buddha. Now, I'm not saying that to contradict you. I'm saying that, you're seeing the Shroud of Turin, and I'm seeing the Buddha. What might other people see, in the face? Like it might be a universal face. You know what I mean? Speaking to each of us in a modality.
Yeah.
For me, it's just as clear as day that it's the smiling Buddha. Yeah. With the eyes slightly closed, like you see. Yeah, just exactly. Wow, that's very cool.
Well, yeah. So that was confirmation, because as I say, the guidance for the trip to France came through on the 3rd of September during my solar return, that I needed to depart for France ASAP. And on my journey on the grids, I always get instantaneous notice and I have to go. And so this time I said to the universe, do I have to go alone again, or is it possible that this amazing family can come with me? And the guidance came back and said, if they can mobilize themselves within this brief period of time, then it is their birthright to come with you to walk these grid lines of the Magdalens and the Cathars. And so on the 4th of September, which was my birthday, we were all on the beach celebrating. And that's when I put the proposition forth to Christoph, who is, the elder of this family here, and said basically, Christoph, this is what's coming through. There's these major alignments coming up that are going to bring in massive energetics through the lunar eclipse that follows a ceremony that we did on September 1st, which was the solar eclipse. The guidance had shown me sitting in a pillar of light, a cosmic pillar of light coming in from the cosmos and into the earth on the 1st of September. And that eclipse landed directly on my chart. All of these eclipses were landing on my chart. So we did a ceremony on the 1st of September on the solar eclipse. And the 15th of September was the lunar eclipse to follow. So the family quickly mobilized and brought together the funds necessary to come with me on the journey. And that is the moment on the plane, the clearing cosmic signal in the face to say that we were on the right track.
Wonderful. Amazing. All right. Now tell me which other picture you want to go to next. And I'll kind of try to find it here. Because we don't
All right. So okay, I think the next picture, Maya, that we want to go to would be, let's go to, there's, it's like a band of light over coming across an archway, a stone archway.
Oh yeah, okay, let's see. There.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Actually, we have to backtrack. Sorry. We need to go to the one of that crystal skull encased in the gold.
Oh, encased in the gold. Okay, here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So what we did, once we were in France, we went into the area of Rennes-le-Château. We started in a little town called Kian, and started to learn very quickly how we were being taken through the Magdalene lines. Now, this crystal skull was the final day. We did ceremony on the autumn equinox, September the 22nd. So we went to several of the locations of the Cathars. On the night of the lunar eclipse, we were on Montsegur. And Montsegur, according to the correlation of many different people's work on the planet, is called the 12 Stargate portal to Lyra. And so we were guided to go there at the time of the lunar eclipse, which was actually 9 o'clock at night. So we climbed the mountain with the family and little baby Noah, and we all prepared the ground to do ceremony at the time of the lunar eclipse, which is when I set up, once again, the crystal skulls for the bringing through of the Areiopax through this 12th Stargate portal. Now, there's a lot of great stories to all of this, which I'd love to share more, but I know that time is of the essence. So just to say that in that area, on the 15th of September, this massive Stargate portal, turns out the 12th Stargate portal to Lyra is activated through Kauai. And so I knew that my work on Kauai was going to connect into whatever was bringing me to Europe. And once again, like I say, this is a correlation of many different people's work and the discovering of all of this information. But when we all came together, it's like we all had these encyclopedias of information that were helping us to understand why we were being guided, where we were guided. So we walked the Magdalene grids. We went to many different locations. And on the 22nd of September, we were staying in a town, Saint Maxime, and that is the town where this crystal skull is. Now, it's said that this is Mary Magdalene's crystal skull. None of us felt that it was. The guidance came through and said to me it was a handmaiden skull. But in front of the skull is a little vial of water. And Mary Magdalene did water blessings. And there was gold flakes in this water. And all of us felt a very strong connection to the water and the energetic of the water. For myself personally, having walked the planet for almost 6 years, doing water blessings, carrying water on behalf of some of the indigenous, I felt this water was very strongly connected to her essence. So on that day, we did a clearing and a releasing of her energy from what felt to us like it was being possessed or encased underneath this church. This is in a vault underneath this big church, which sits on the grids.
Right.
And then later in the day, we climbed up to St. Balm, which is a cave on the side of a 90-degree cliff. And it said that Mary Magdalene did water blessings in there. And once again, that's where Thoth came through and said to open up the Areiopax. And when I was doing that work, and as the other team came in together and was doing their pieces of the work that they're doing, the guidance came through and said to me, the archetype of Mary Magdalene is completely liberated. Her spirit, her soul, and her essence can be returned to source in totality. And through that liberation, all the archetypes of the zodiac are released. So that all that information came in at the same time that the Areiopax was being ignited through the cave of St. Balm.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Do you want me to go to the next picture then? The one that you were talking about with the rays in front of the temple?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me just, I think that's the next one. Okay. So this archway, which I'm sure you'll recognize, Maya, is from the Abbey in Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Now, when we finished the work, we continued on to England. And the family went to the north, to Manchester, for some presentations they were doing, and I was guided to go directly to Glastonbury. Glastonbury is a place where I was carrying bundles to in 2014, including the Star Knowledge bundles for the Star Knowledge family, Lisa Renee's Hieros Gamos manual with the codes from the Syrian High Council to restore the codes of Hieros Gamos. Now, of course, the Abbey has an amazing history with the Essene family, and it's said that Joseph of Arimathea, Jesus' uncle, brought the blood and the sweat of Jesus after the crucifixion, and the teachings of the Hieros Gamos created the secret crypt under the Ladies' Chapel, where the teachings of Hieros Gamos were continued on for hundreds of years. And I was told by a woman who leads tours at the Abbey that the Hieros Gamos teachings were carried on until the last abbot had his head cut off on the top of the tour, and his head was hung in the archway of the Abbey on the Mary line. And then the teachings of the Hieros Gamos were stopped. So when I went there in 2014 with Lisa Renee's manual, I managed to climb down into the ladies' crypt, which was closed off to the public at the time, and push her manual back into, there was a little opening into this secret crypt, and I pushed her manual in there. To return to the Abbey now was profound for me, to take this picture, to see this beam of light come in, and to feel that the Mary line had been released in totality, and so that the Hieros Gamos consciousness, Unio Mystica, could rise in the consciousness again. So this is where this picture is taken. And then on that ley line, once again, Thoth came in and said, restore the Areiopax. And that was the wording, restore the Areiopax.
Yeah. Well, you know, as you're talking,
that particular, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, as you're talking about this, the crypt, the secret crypt where the ceremonies were performed, Thoth also speaks of a hidden chamber. Not that one, but I think it's probably connected, and where the body of John Martinus, which he claims is the only actual child of Jesus and Mary, is in a suspended, I believe it's in a suspended state, but the body is there. And also the cup, the actual cup that, you know, the Grail is many things, but it actually was a cup too, you know, and a very simple cup that Jesus drank from, and that is located in that place as well. And he speaks of it the actual crypt that I'm talking about, as if you're on around the Abbey, you're walking around the Abbey. He calls it's under the eave of the Wrens. Well, now that came out of an ancient text that I translated a little piece of. So there may not be any eve of the Wrens left. I don't know. But he said that the text that I translated from the Akashic, the little piece, said that John Martinus lies in the ground in the sacred crypt under the eve of the Wrens. I just thought I'd add that because it seemed to be correlated to what you were saying.
Wow, that's amazing. The eve of the Wrens. What do you think that part is?
Well, it's WRENS. I put it on Facebook the other day, and some people commented, well, a wren is the symbology of the wren and all that seemed to fit. But the actual location, I don't know. I was only at the Abbey once, and that was before I translated that, or maybe it wasn't, but I didn't remember it. I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it.
There is the one place right on the Mary line there where it's said that King Arthur's body is buried on that line.
Uh-huh.
I'm sensing, because the work that we did in 2014, it was Anna DeVere and myself, and we knew by dowsing the Mary line that there was spots on the Mary line that were blocked. And so we were going back, and we went back with Simeon and Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Karen?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah. Sorry, my short-term memory. We met them at the same time, but in the morning, when Anna and I got up in the morning to go back to that Mary line to do the grid work to release the 2 spots on the Mary line that we saw were blocked, just coincidentally, some article of yours from a long time ago showed up on my hard drive about the 4444 gates.
Mm-hmm.
And we then knew that 2 of those 2 stargates sat on that Mary line, and that's what we were clearing.
Wow.
And the story that ensued after we did the clearing was profound. It was after I slipped the Hieros Gamos manual into the ladies' crypt. Mm-hmm. And then we went out to clear those 2 areas, and there were some people performing a play in front of us, practicing. And everything that we did, they referenced back to us when we started to clear the first 4444 gate. Uh-huh. They started to, everyone in the play started to scream out, "Blessed be the return of sovereignty."
I love it when things like that happen. It's so profound. It just brings it all together. That's amazing. Okay, dear, let's go to another picture now. Which one would you like to go to?
Well, let's just jump to that one where it's just a picture of me standing against the wall, and we'll just bring that energetic in.
Yes.
Okay, so that is down below. This whole section was closed to the public in 2014 when I was there, so I had to scale down the church wall to get down there. And right behind where my feet are in this picture is where there was a tiny little gap in the rocks. It was probably 10 inches wide and 2 inches high, and there just happened to be a space that big that perfectly fit the slipping in of the manual. And when I pushed the manual in, it's like I could literally hear it sliding in, and I could hear it's like it hit something, and the guidance was showing me that there was a round slab stone in there that even the Druids knew about, and that was programmed for the grids by the Essenes for ascension now. And if you go to the top of the Tor and you douse the Tor, it's actually Lingam and a Yoni coming together. And it's said that, the Essene family came when Yeshua was young, they came together to set up those grid lines for divine union.
Yeah.
So that image, just energetically, the sign above my head is saying, this is the secret crypt within the ladies' chapel.
Well, for those that may not know this, just very briefly, according to my sources, the body of Torhana, who the soul of Torhana was Mary, Mother Mary. That being resides in a crypt beneath the Tor, in a suspended state. And that means her DNA coatings are able to be freely distributed in the consciousness. And so the skull of Mary is the same, that Mary the mother, is the same as the crystal skull that we're calling Isis. So Isis is connected to that. And when I was there in Glastonbury, at night, she appeared as a hologram, Torhana, holding a cup in front of her, just a bowl, really. And it was a perfect 3D image in blue. And it was a hologram, I found out later. But I mean, I was wide awake, and it was right there in my room, and I watched it. It seemed like I watched it for at least a minute, but it was probably less than that. So anyway, I feel, as you were telling me this, again, there's another connection with all these crypts, with all these sacred places that are sealed away in that area that makes it such an incredibly important area, not to mention the ley lines and all of that coming together. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Maya, do I have time to share one other little piece about that ley line then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I was there in 2014 and carrying the bundles for the Indigenous, so on, synchronicities, of course, brought Anna and I together with a group that work with Barbara Marks Hubbard. And this group contacted us spontaneously and said, we have 2 extra spots on our bus. We're going to Stonehenge. Would you like to join us at sunrise? And so, of course, we went with them, and amazing things happened. And I was I was returning my womb bloods to the earth, and all the sacred water I was carrying, I was exchanging with the earth, and I had the Heroes Gamos manual. When we went to Stonehenge that morning, one of the people in the group was standing in their dowsing rods. Darless maze for dowsing rods were spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So we knew this massive portal was open. The guidance said, go stand there with the sweat and the blood and the meaning the waters and the manual. And the 13 councils of light came in and said that they were downloading the codes to reprogram Stonehenge. Later that day, Anna and I were walking with a beautiful woman, Mano, who's a tour guide at the the Abbey. And she said, let us stop here for a moment. Let me show you this archway at the Abbey. Mm-hmm. It had the phoenix carved into it, the rising of the phoenix, but then there was a decimated cross. And she said, this is the cross of Joseph of Arimathea. And after the crucifixion, he brought the blood and the sweat and the teachings of the Heroes Gamos. Well, at the time that she said this, the guidance told me to drop down and put 13 drops of the water, 13 drops of the blood, and lay my heart upon the earth under this archway. And when I did, it was the annual pilgrimage for the Catholics to the Abbey that day. And although we couldn't see the large group, they were on the other side of the building at the Abbey. The priest started to say over and over, Hail Mary, Mother of Grace, blessed be the fruits of thy womb, as soon as I had put down the blessings and laid my heart down. So when I stood up, I was in the full embodiment of Mary Magdalene and remembering the promise, which was the family agreeing to the crucifixion because 2,000 plus years later, Magdalene and Yeshua promised to come back together fully embodied, fully transfigured in light. And when they did and brought their bodies back together physically, in the physical, it would restore all the DNA to source code. Mm-hmm. So this whole vision was shown to me in 2014. So to come back to these grids now at this time, and in alignment with everything that happened, and what you're bringing in, the piece with the Isis skull and so on, I was just guided to bring in that vision, because what actually happened for our group on the 29th of July, of September, was a Unio Mystica wedding. And the night that I arrived, this is a really important piece, because what I'm seeing is starting to be woven in on a very incredible level is the Indigenous stories. being asked to carry the water uh, by Marshal Golden Eagle Jack, who's a Paiute elder who was trained to work with water, um, essentially the story of the Waitaha started to come back to me, and it ties in very strongly to when I passed the White Queen crystal skull to Maya, because there is a story that the Waitaha, the north and the south, who were the ancient shamans who came before the Maoris, joined together on the island of Kauai when the energies were coming out of balance, and they came together on Kauai to unify the energies of the north and south. And a woman who is a Waitaha brings an object which solidifies that unification of the energies, and in their story it turns out it's a crystal skull. And I found this out 3 days after I had passed the White Queen on to Maya. So the first night I arrived back in Glastonbury just a few weeks ago, I went to the red and white waters. I went to the archway of the abbey where the promise was remembered, and I laid down a rose. It was nighttime. Then I went on to the waters, the red and white waters by Chalice Well, outside of Chalice Well, where you can collect them. I went at nighttime. It was dark, and this beautiful angelic man came up to me and said to me, "You know Nako Bear." And I said, "Well, that's funny because I've been shown that I'll be on stage with him." And he said, "Come, I have a song I'd like you to listen to of Nako's." And as soon as I sat with him, he looked at me and said, "Waitaha, water carrier, it has been a long time since I have seen you." And we started to speak light language to each other. And so all of these pieces, the Tor, Isis, how it's tying in with the indigenous, all these multi-dimensional layers, the DNA in suspended states, all weaving in together. And Glastonbury energetically is completely different than when I experienced it before. And it is a major hub of transformation. And that is the next place where the Areiopax came in.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much, Lynn. Unity. Unity. I apologize. I so respect your name. It's just that I've started knowing you as Lynn, and now it's like, I gotta switch my brains over.
Well, many of us are getting template downloads, and my Unity template came in almost a year ago, right now, actually. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, dear Unity, let's go to another picture now. Which one would you like to go to, dear?
All right. So let me just see. All right. So the next picture we're going to jump to is the one with the crystal skulls in front of the waterfall.
Okay. There. Got it.
Yeah, there we are. Perfect. Okay. So our team all reunified. The family had gone up to Manchester. They were working, Christophe and Akasha and Elaine, Gabrielle, they were working the dragon line. And a very dear friend, Templar, named Peter Tung, was giving me a great deal of guidance on these dragon lines. He was referencing the whole journey all the way. Bill and Edie, of course, in Crestone as well, were referencing information. So all this information coming in from all these different places. And then, of course, the pieces that Maya had instilled with me about the Areiopax. So the next place our whole team configured or came back together was in Tintagel. And we stayed at Camelot's castle for the very purpose of the what was happening with the grid lines there. And so on the 28th, there was a massive energetic wave. It's called the X wave. It's said that it's the highest frequency photonic energy that's come to the earth from September 26th to the 29th. So on the 28th, we came together at St. Nectan's Glen, which is the fabled waterfall where King Arthur was knighted. And this is where this picture has come from. And of course, anyone who's seen pictures of the waterfall knows it's a very special waterfall. There's a hole in the rock which looks like a portal.
Wow.
And this is the next location and this piece, this Albion piece, actually takes us and connects us into the same Stargate portal, the portal of the 12 Stargate portal of for Lyra through Montsegur in France, also connects through St. Nectan's Glen.
Mm.
And the interesting piece is this is connected to Vancouver Island, which is written about in the Keys of Enoch as one of the places that activates on the planet. And in Maya's work from a few years ago, Thoth had said that one of the upwellings would come from Vancouver Island. And so as we all put the pieces together, we understood that the Albion piece connects back to Vancouver Island in Canada. And this piece is about to get very interesting. I won't go into it right now, but the downloads are coming in right now, and we're all putting pieces together. So this St. Nectan's Glen, Albion, those ancient lines, the stories, the druids, the dragons, the Avalon, the fall of Avalon, all of it. This is where the next level of the Areiopax came in.
Wonderful. Wow. Okay. Now, which next picture are we going to?
All right. Well, the last picture I sent you, I just sent a few, is the tour.
Oh, yes, right. Okay, there we are. What a gorgeous shot of the tour. Wow. That's beautiful.
Well, we had quite a special ceremony up there. It was very cold. And so during the day on the 29th, for me personally, there was just so many downloads from my own walk, my connections with different indigenous, with the Hopi, etc. It was just like I was seeing this great cosmic picture of the unification of the human family coming together. And so this day, once again, I met with the Waitaha man, the angelic being that I had met at the Red and White Waters. The information that was shared back and forth was very precious. He had given me a swan feather, which ties into the journey from 2 years ago. Our group came together at Chalice Well, and Christoph and Akasha had called in different participants in the work that they're doing to come and join us in Glastonbury. And Christoph didn't make an announcement that he and his beloved Alea were going to do their own private Unio Mystica wedding. So they did that together on their own at Chalice Well. And then we all connected at Chalice Well, a small group of us, maybe 10, 11 people, sat together to celebrate their divine union. And also for myself, bringing in through the codes of the water blessing, the activation of the Areiopax. And for me, this was such a profound moment, having received and seen those codes of the promise of Unio Mystica being fulfilled, the coming back together, fully transfigured in light. These codes that myself and my beloved brother Akasha are carrying, we were carrying those codes for the fulfillment of the promise that I was shown 2 years ago. So we were all these different levels for humanities. And of course, what's happening for us is just a reference of what's happening inside of all of us. We are like caterpillars, and we're about to launch as monarch butterflies in the millions. And so that 29th, we did the gathering at Chalice Well, and then at sunset, we climbed to the top of the tour, where we pulled together all these different pieces. And while we were in Avalon, Christoph and Gabriel and Akasha went to a church in Tintagel, where they did work to release the dragon underneath the church. It's a white dragon. And there was a whole group of women at the same time who were in Scotland, had just finished their journey in Scotland. They had been to Iona, and while they were at Iona, some of them had had a vision of a white dragon rising with a pearl in her hand, knowing it was a feminine energy. And on the 1st of September, in a ceremony that we were doing here, I experienced going underneath the Great Pyramid, diving deeper than I had ever dived before, reaching down into the abyss, bringing my hand back, and there was a great white pearl in my hand. And the pearl was the Madagascar crystal that I had given to Maya a few years ago on her birthday. I had bought 6 of them and carried them around the earth on my grid work, given one to Maya. It had sat with the Osiris Rising collection for a year or two. Mm-hmm. I asked to have it back, to take it on this work, and that's the pearl that I was shown. Diving and getting underneath the Great Pyramid. The guidance was saying on September 1st, we were in a Mercury retrograde. We were going back for a missing piece. And that's what I came up with in my hand. While the whole team of women who were in Scotland at Iona had also seen a vision of the white dragon rising with a pearl in her hand. And so what is the missing piece? Well, maybe it's the rise of the feminine, or the rise of the feminine voice, the rise of the white dragon to be recognized as the feminine version of the dragon, because of course the dragons on the planet, for the most part, and we know that, there's these very powerful families on the planet, the Chinese dragon families. So what we're seeing is the work that the guys did at the church in Tintagel, all these collective pieces we're seeing is the rise of the white dragon as the feminine dragon, which will restore those dragon energies, the elemental energies, the nagas, back in totality and wholeness, where the feminine is restored in this elemental aspect of our, the storylines that are written into our DNA. And so it's like step by step, we're stepping out of these storylines. We're going back to the elemental components of them now, so that the consciousness can be released in totality to return to the stars to begin a whole new journey.
Yes, absolutely. And as you were saying that, I was seeing that these dragons were, you could call them new Earth star dragons, because they were, Thoth speaks of the dragon energy. What it really comes from is the first primal spark of any planet. That's where the dragon energy comes from. And it carries then, in that sense, the memory of that primal birth into what Thoth calls the planetary genius. And you might say it seeds the planetary genius with that constant memory, so that it can always go back to source of its creation. So when we move into the whole planet moves into the new Earth star, the world system 2 of the new Earth star, the planetary genius of this realm that we're in here has to come with us. It's being carried like the egg, And the dragons of the new Earth are those that are they're coming from the old Earth, and they're supplying the egg of the new Earth. So these dragons hatch. We're speaking sort of metaphorically here, but they hatch in the new Earth experience. So since time is irrelevant, really, those dragons are already there, and they're sharing with us this guidance, this way through to carry the planetary genius on to its new level of experience. I mean, that's kind of what I was seeing when you were speaking of that. And one other thing I wanted to interject here was when you mentioned the ladies that were going on the other journey. Well, the facilitator of that journey is Alison McLean, who is one of the Sholar, that is our core group of New Earth Star Inner Academy. And she also was installing at least one or more Areiopax formations herself at the same time. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's so amazing, because they were doing the work while we were in France, and then Elawan, who was on that journey with them in Scotland, who's a dear friend who was with our group when we were in Egypt like a year ago spring, and who I've been doing work with on the grids for several years now. Elawan and her beloved Shenandan arrived in Glastonbury within hours of my arrival, completely unannounced. Neither of us had any idea. And so she was bringing bringing the codes from the Scotland trip, from Iona, from all those places. And I was bringing the codes as she and I came together from the Mary Magdalene lines in France. And we were both carrying waters to unite. And Akasha will be very excited to hear what you're referencing about there's several eggs, because the night that we did the ceremony here on the 1st of September and did the deep dive, one of the visions Akasha was shown was a whole cluster of dragon eggs.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Well, I just get all tingly when we talk about dragons. I love dragons. I think I love unicorns too, and I'm crazy about horses, but there's just something about dragons that just really gets to me. So,
well, I'll have to introduce you to Akasha and Gabriel soon, because they're pretty spot on crazy about dragons here too.
wow. Well, this has been an incredible journey with you here, Unity. And you have anything you'd like to say in closure before we conclude today?
Well, in closure, I'd like to say I think we should do a whole lot more of these.
Yes, I do too.
And energetically, what's coming up right now is this super moon in the middle of October. And so when we were on the journey in France, the guidance came through and said, tell everyone all the foundation we have created is about to fall away. And that is the time we're at. It really is the time of relinquishing everything we've known, all the foundation that we've created, because pretty much what you said about the eggs, about that intelligence of the earth that's being moved now to a new place. It's like the pearls are within each one of us. Each one of us is the dragon holding its own cluster of pearls. And just to really encourage people to trust, if a lot of things in their life are falling away right now and they feel really sideswiped by what's happening, to trust and know it's okay, because the pearls of the new earth are within each one of us. Mm-hmm. And we are doing this together. No one is ahead or behind. It's happening within us all. Mm-hmm. And that's really, with this full supermoon coming up in the middle of October, it can have a real kind of whammy impact because of the alignments coming with it. So the other piece I'm guided to say is there's some really interesting stuff that I'm seeing that's going to start coming out from the voice of the Indigenous. Yeah. That could be a lot of pieces that are unexpected.
I wouldn't be surprised about that. Thoth has mentioned to me quite a while ago that the Indigenous, as they are now, are also falling away, in the sense that they are prepared to offer the pouch to the next level of New Earth experience, to the next level toward the New Earth experience. And when they do that, everything is going to come open. The pouch is going to come open entirely. And it's like the mother expands so the babies can leave. And then the Indigenous, it's as if, I don't know how it works, but the elders that have held the place for so long, and I'm speaking really of the ones, what Thoth calls what does he use the term? It's escaping me right now, but those who hold it on the inner plane. They're like these souls of elders that choose not to continue to incarnate, so that they can hold that energy in place for the spokespeople, the spokespeople on this level of the Indigenous. And when this happens and the pouch is opened, and the all is revealed to the next level of keepers, those Indigenous that have been holding that place on the inner will then be free to incarnate and go on, to move on. And what happens next, I don't really know, but the next level of keepers comes into place in some way. So, I mean, it's a really dramatic experience and moment, and I don't have all the details of it, of course, but I'm just sharing what I have seen from the Thoth record.
That resonates with me very deeply. my connection on my journey has a beautiful and amazing connection with the Hopi. And I woke up yesterday morning and the guidance said, begin to prepare yourself spiritually to return home to Hopi Nation. Mm-hmm. And so what you're saying in the pieces that, you and I share about those pieces, that resonates very strongly.
Yeah. Oh, this has been wonderful, Unity. Unity Grace. I do love you so much, dear.
Maya, Kira, ever grateful, have felt you all the way along, cheering and going, yes, yes. And just feel our connection always, and such deep gratitude and acknowledgement for you, Maya, for the peace that you've held for all of us for so long, that you came back into a body to scribe and help us prepare, and that grace may bless every aspect of your being for the incredible pieces that you hold and the guidance that you've brought to so many, and for me personally, the incredible guidance. And I feel like you and I are holding hands all the way. As we've both said, it's kind of like we're the same being. Really, that's how I feel.
In the forest together.
What's that?
Skipping through the garden together, hand in hand. I saw, that was what I saw when you said that. It's like little girls, holding hands and going, skipping through the garden.
That's so beautiful. I noticed my battery's at 3%, so it's probably a really good time to complete.
We will conclude, my love, and we'll talk soon. And thank all of you for listening. And until next time, aloha. I'm going to end the meeting.
Blessings to everyone. Aloha.
In my recording. Here we go.